What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Astro Vibe Show. My name is Malik Harris.
My name is, didn't mean to cut you off, Mackie Totocini.
My name is Demo Vision, but I go by Derek Moore. Sorry.
And this is the Astro Vibe Show where you come to
Vibe with the
Tribe. Today we're watching a new League of Legends video. We're actually going to jump into the Vastaya lore. I thought that would be a cool video because we're going into Ionia with Season 2 this year. League of Legends.
Half man, half horse. Sorry. League of Legends. League of Legends.
You daydreaming about horsemen? That's
No. I'm a half man, half
Centaurs. I feel it.
Yeah.
Centaurs. What's Minotaurs with bull?
Minotaur's lower half bull, and then upper half man, and then the face is a bull. Minotaur.
Bull. Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Anyway,
it away.
we're gonna jump into this lore video, and then we will talk about things throughout. It's been a while, I think, since we've done lore that wasn't directly tied to like a character or something like that. We would do like the voice lines and the theme songs and the lore videos. It's been really fun diving into that, but it's kind of nice to get back into more of just straight lore videos or breakdowns, crazier cinematics, things like that.
Yeah.
As you guys can see, I got this new Ruination book. It's pretty fucking good. I'm on chapter like 9. I got that, and I got Horus Rising over here. Ooh. It's a small book. Ooh. I don't like small books like this. I know.
It's a small book.
Yeah. Or it's a big book, but it's
Yeah, that shit look
does
intimidating
like,
to me.
Yeah. Honestly, Ruination is a lot. I won't say better, but I'm enjoying it more than that right now.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm reading it faster, because I got them at the same time. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Building the collection. All right, let's jump into this little video, and then we'll talk about things afterwards.
Let's do it.
Oh my god, Necro bag.
That right.
Hello everyone and
That
welcome.
girl gave me that good Necro.
Recently, a Piltover
That's
explorer called Eduard Santangelo traveled into the wilds of northern Ionia and discovered something unique. An ancient race of chimeric beings known as the Vastaya. It is through his chronicle that we learn what he saw during his adventures. So let's go through Eduard
you put the caption on
Santangelo's
for me?
Vastaya field journal.
The captions on for me. Look it
Oh,
up.
yeah. No,
His story began by landing on the shores of Ionia. He traveled here with hopes of finding something more exciting than his everyday life in Piltover. These Ionian forests are mostly unexplored. Only the locals have some idea of what they might find here. Hoping to discover something beyond his imagination, Eduard stepped forward and began his trip into the unknown. And once he discovered the Vastaya, he knew he found what he was looking for. He met his first Vastayan creature in the dead of night, as it sneaked through his camp, eating whatever it could. It nearly
That's a
sprinted
monkey.
away when
You're right.
Eduard woke up, but with the help of some sweet cakes and soothing singing, he convinced it to stay a while in his camp. Though it walked on 2 legs like a human, its features were chimeric combination of several other creatures. It had long whiskers and pointed nose like a cat, the scales of a snake all over its body, and the physical strength of a Belgewodrian salt beast, which Eduard discovered when the creature lifted him above his head, looking for more sweet cakes. The creature fled into the darkness shortly thereafter, and Eduard knew what he had to do: learn more about these Vastaya. The following chapters focus on the different Vastaya he encountered in his travels across this mysterious continent. The origins of the Vastaya remain to be a mystery, but Eduard has a theory that they are not an individual species, but a taxonomic classification more on par with a larger order or a phylum. Simply put, while many Vastaya look similar to one another, the different tribes and familial groupings act in drastically different ways, which he discovered after following the cat-snake-ape boy back to his village and being rudely chased away by his brethren. Perhaps they confused him for a spy or apex predator, which explains why they followed him back to his camp and took everything he had.
Damn.
Days after his encounter with the Vastaya, Eduard followed the Whispering River, so named by himself because it was very loud, and like many sophisticates, he also had a penchant for irony. After a while, he found another village with entirely different tribe. These Vastaya had the squeezable furry faces of otters, but the lower growth of seals. After he successfully attempted to give them his glasses as a piece of offering, since many of the creatures carried bags full of shiny things, he tried to bond with them by saying, "I come in peace and will do you no harm." Then he began an interpretive dance, which, to quote the description, this particular jig was all about knee placement, and my patellas are positively pristine. And to the surprise of everyone, it was a success, and his companions took him in and fed him a warm supper, which he described as slightly unraw, not quite fish. Though they did not speak during his bonding rituals, they later revealed, upon politely requesting he pass them a cup of yellowish powder that smelled like salt and fire, that they spoke his language fluently. Their various dialects were unfamiliar to him, but he could, with a little effort, understand exactly what they said. As hungry for knowledge as he had previously been for food, Edward asked them about the history of their kind. He learned that the Vastaya's origins could be traced back long time ago, to a hidden corner of Ionia where a group of humans fled to escape the horrors of the Great Void War. These refugees came into contact with a tribe of intelligent shape-shifting creatures who were greatly in tune with Ionia's natural magics. The pairing of these two groups produced the creatures he eventually learned to refer to as Vastaya. Over time,
Vastaya.
Pairing. As in sex. Huh? So they had sex with these creatures?
The humans?
With the creatures that they were just talking about to make the Vastaya?
Yeah, I was thinking like I thought they were.
That's what I assumed too.
Yeah, I thought they had sex with like the
You guys, how does that work? Is it? Yeah. So people can cross breed on this planet?
I thought the Celestials had kids, and then their kids went off and had kids, and then like the Vastaya. I might be messing that up.
Well, they just said, yeah. They just outright one.
No, they were trapped there with the Vastayas already.
I'm gonna play it.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
these two groups produced the creatures he eventually shape-shifting creatures who were greatly in tune with Ionia's natural magics. The pairing of these two groups produced the creatures he eventually learned to refer to as Vastaya. Over time,
so the refugees from the Void War came over and met these creatures, and then the pairing of the two made a. That's what I'm like. So they're just like fucking random creature. Like, damn, that looks nice.
As soon as that thing bent over, man, that fish-looking woman, man, I ain't gonna lie. She had fish and a crab arm. I couldn't wait. You feel me?
That's wild.
I was drooling out the mouth.
Yeah.
She had whiskers too.
The refugees from the Void War.
Have
we ever seen what they look like?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I don't know if we've seen that before.
Cause that's over down in Shurima.
Mm-hmm.
Down there, far to the east. So everything on that continent to the east side had to flee and fled, run away.
Interesting. Okay.
Creatures settled in variety of regions and therefore adopted their forms. From the winged humanoids of Ionia or the sand shufflers of Shurima, to the Freljordian-scaled manatee with a look of perpetual discomfort.
They get around the world, bro.
Edward wanted to stay a bit longer and ask some more, but one of his questions seemed to cause great offense, and he was abruptly ejected from the village.
Damn.
His question, for those looking to avoid the same mistake, regarded whether the pairing of the two species was purely magical or more, let's say, physical in nature. Relieved of both his supplies and his calm, but never his thirst for adventure, he marched again in a different direction with nothing to protect him except for his multisyllabic vocabulary. Months passed and he learned to look for the right Ionian fruits and vegetables. He marked time only by rising and setting of the sun, and happily forgot all the cumbersome Piltovan habits to which he had become accustomed. However, after many days spent traveling across Ionia, he had developed something of a stench. so he paused, got
Musty.
rid of his clothes, of
Musty.
course after checking to make sure he was alone, since a gentleman never forces his own nudity upon others, and stepped into a
Shit.
nearby lake that smelled of berries and grass.
Nice.
It was there that he saw the most wondrous thing he had ever seen his entire life.
Mermaid.
Far more human than any Vastaya he had yet seen.
Yeah.
Oh.
This
Oh, Ari.
creature, bathing on the opposite shore, had the ears and tails of a fox. She had no clothes, and Edward left his description vague so as not to offend his younger or more sensitive readers. She was simply very, very much like a female human. Very. He caught but a glimpse of her as he soaked in the pond, his mouth agape, water streaming down his body as he attempted to come up with the perfect words of greeting. Soon, however, a rustling in the brush behind him gave him a scare. He turned, but there was no threat brave enough to show itself. He turned back to find the glorious foxwoman was gone, leaving him with nothing but questions. The words, "Oh my love, my dream, my prospective bedfellow," bounced in his head while keeping his embarrassed look. The rustler, whom Edward was determined to beat into bloody unconsciousness for scaring the love of his life away, turned out to be a human merchant from a distant village who
Human
sold
merchant?
ginger fruit, an apparent delicacy.
I don't
Okay.
look like
Boy,
no
look
human.
goofy as hell.
Ears. He got some hair going down his chin.
Hey, what's-
He got some forward lower
League is
teeth
a
going
He
on.
look like the dude off, if he was an actual real life time, the nigga off of Diana with the little alfalfa.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He looks like Timon, or he looks like Pumbaa if he was a humanoid.
Hell yeah.
I don't know what this is. This guy looks like something off of what's that? Thundercats.
Oh,
One of the creatures from the Thundercats. Yeah.
Thundercat. Thundercat.
He
See,
look,
he chose not to taste.
We're just about to
He
roast
was
him for 10
concerned.
minutes.
low key,
Yes,
one more. He looked like he going through an orc transformation.
Kind
Like,
of.
40K.
Very soft orc.
Yeah.
Very
Pussy, very
soft.
pussy orc.
He looks like he picks berries.
Or he works in on like a woodcraft shop.
You look like a motherfucking. All right, let's get back into this.
And he would resist the temptation to smash one into his smiling face. The merchant's name was Shy, and he told Edward that bathing there wasn't the smartest decision. Apparently, the foxwoman, who was sometimes known to bathe there, would be hazardous to his health. So Edward informed him that sneaking up on naked admiring men would be far more hazardous to his. But Shy merely laughed. After he dressed up again, the merchant agreed to lead him back into human civilization and answer few of his questions, in exchange for his head. He informed Edward that his family had known this strange woman for generations. She, just like the other
Did I miss something?
Yeah, see, he said
Hey,
head.
shit for his head.
Okay.
I think you're reading into that too much.
I just don't know what it means on any context level. Does it mean head or does it mean head? Either way, I'm concerned both ways. You know what I mean?
He's gonna lose his head.
Vastaya have far longer lives than humans. Some say they can live for thousands of years, and some even say they may be immortal. It was Shy who informed him about their Ionian name, the Vastaya. Up to this point, Edward called them the Phantasma. He really liked that name, but he changed all his previous mentions purely out of cultural empathy. They walked together for several days. Occasionally, Shy would stop and sniff the air like a bloodhound. When Edward asked him about his behavior, he merely smiled and told him he was looking for treasures. These stops slowly infuriated him, and eventually they led him to a thought which he immediately shared with Shy. If Vastaya were the amalgamation of humans and ancient shape-shifting ancestors, then what would happen if dead blood were to become extremely diluted through reproductive diaspora? What if, say, one had Vastayan blood but not quite enough to take chimeric animalian form? What would happen then?
You would get the
It
fox
was
look.
then that Shy stopped sniffing and his eyes widened. He looked at him, smiled, and said, "Well, they'd be able to change their shape, wouldn't they?" before the bastard turned into a pig and unearthed a silk truffle.
Oh.
Edward couldn't believe he met an actual shapeshifter and 3 different kinds of Vastaya in only few months. He couldn't help but note, however, that transforming Pigman was a considerable step down from Curvaceous Foxwoman. At this rate, the next Vastayan creature he sees could likely resemble a walking roach. He spent the last several months scouring Ionia for any information on the Vastaya species, in an attempt to create a taxonomic guide to Runeterra and its fauna. Though he collected an incredible amount of information on the Vastaya, there is much left to be discovered. But for now, it was time to move on. Edward wanted to focus on other creatures of Runeterra. Those horrifying sentient weapons known as Darkin,
Aatrox?
the corrupting creatures of the Void,
Jeez.
those elusive fey creatures of legend, the Yordles. You can rest assured Edward Santangelo will be here to tell their stories. Weeks after submitting these stories to his editor, Edward embarked on an unofficial return trip to Ionia to, in his words, ask further questions of the fox-like woman, purely for the purpose of a second edition. However, Edward was kidnapped by a tribe who called themselves the Knavery Brotherhood. He was able to convince them not to execute him instantly, but he sent a letter asking his editor to send back all the profits made with his book. So the editor sent what he requested,
robbed this entire
a
time.
handful of pocket change and a spoiled sweet cake. But they have not heard back from him since.
Damn.
And that was the story of Edward Santangelo, the guy who potentially got kidnapped by the newly teased champion. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to click the like below and subscribe in case you'd like to stay up to date with all the new lore. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter,
just a
and
perfect
join
picture to
our
put up,
Discord.
like,
Thank you all so much for
I wanna see
watching
my dog,
and for your
yeah.
feedback. You know I really appreciate it.
You said that was a perfect picture to put up.
Yeah, like was just Ed, just some Edar. He just some random guy or some shit, just chilling, taking notes and getting information.
I don't know. Fuck it. The
Like, was
music
he just
kind of
like
came
a-
on, Luki.
Huh?
What? Go ahead.
Was he like a news person going around collecting like data, or he was just collecting data from every like, different type of species and
Yeah, I
from
guess
all
he
over
was
Runeterra?
like a, like a Pokemon trainer, just going around just collecting them all.
But like he's not something like somebody super important. Is he?
No.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, you looked at me when he said that name. I was like, do you know who that is? I was like, I don't know who the fuck that is.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, that was my first time hearing his name, but I'm like, he kind of seemed like semi-important.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's like the guy with the scrolls. Rise.
Rise,
Yeah, I don't think he's like a Rise type of character where he actually plays and has an impact on the story. Part of it seemed like a lot of kind of like jokingly. A lot of
Christopher
jokes and stuff
Columbus
like
had
that.
ass.
Yeah, that's what I pictured in my head. Yeah, that man said, I'm gonna go back to Ionia for research purposes. That's crazy. I don't feel like I got. I mean, I guess I did get like information on Vastaya, but I don't know. I think I was expecting something more.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Into that video.
Yeah.
Like the math wasn't in there.
Yeah, the math wasn't mathing. Yeah, I just thought they would kind of like go through some creatures or something like that.
Maybe some abilities. Maybe how they got probably mixed in with each other, some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it started off with a frog, and then he met a mosquito. Then he helped the mosquito. The mosquito.
Goddamn. Jesus Christ. Oh, who is this? Just Blaze. Do I trust this guy?
Just blaze.
Just blaze. Just light it up and blaze.
I'll listen to this guy. We'll give this guy a chance. It's gonna be our first time giving a non-Necrit person a chance to give us information. Y'all let us know how valid this is. Yeah, I'll tag this video at the bottom of in our description as well with Necrit's video. But yeah,
Just go down a little bit. Let me see. Oh, you got a little twin KBLs. I feel you, Philly. Yeah, we can fuck with him. Not like that, but we gonna fuck with him.
yeah, let's check this out. Something new. It's about time we went through a lot of Necrit content. It would be nice to expand in different directions. So,
Yeah. Put other people on.
all right.
Ionia is an
Damn.
island continent just to the northeast of Valorant and is a place of balance and peace, an island where the inhabitants try to live as in tune with magic, nature, and the spirit realm as possible. But Ionia also has its own fair share of struggles internally in the wake of an invasion that wreaked havoc on the First Lands. Here's everything you need to know about Ionia in like 15 minutes. As always, this video is going to focus on Ionia as a setting, what it's like to live there, the lay of the land, the factions and people you'll encounter, etc. We'll also touch on history, but it won't be the most in-depth history lesson in the world. It's just a strong enough foundation for you to know what's going on. That's the goal with all the videos in this series. Think of it as Region 101. We set up a base for you, and you're free to go deep dive whatever subject you choose. If you're brand new to Runeterra lore, or you're coming from my shorts, there's an intro to Runeterra video on my channel. I highly recommend checking that out. It gives you a full overview of the world map and the base level timeline in like 12 minutes. Super worth it. Then come back here. And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, please. Okay, Ionia time.
Okay, Ionia.
Ionia's main island is divided into two regions by a mountain range in the middle. The two regions are Navorai to the west and Shanzan to the east. Navorai is jam-packed with stuff to talk about. Most importantly, there's the Garden of Forgetting, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a garden where the flowers and fruit are magic and can remove a person's memories. Amakailan, aka the Heart of the World. This sacred grove is the former location of the God Willow, a giant, like, world tree approximate. Eventually, the God Willow was destroyed by warriors from the Freljord, specifically cut down by Ivern the Cruel. All of nature in Ionia felt that death, and that death also consumed Ivern. And in his death, he saw the beauty of the natural world and regretted his actions. And centuries later, this is where the Green Father would emerge, Ivern reborn as the watchful protector of nature. There's the Placidium of Navorai, another intensely sacred place in Ionia with magical gardens and renowned colleges of study. The Placidium is actually such an important place in Ionia that it became a prime target during the Noxus invasion, as we'll see later, and was the site of one of the most important battles of the war. There's the Temple of Thanjul, formerly the Kinku Order's headquarters, now under Shadow Order control, the Temple of Koshin, another temple for the Kinku Order, and Waylay, I probably said that wrong, an unmapped coastal village that's functionally cloaked by the power of Ionia. The village is welcoming to outsiders, and nature will eat up ships attempting to land at the port. Shanzan, the other half of the mainland, has a lot less known about it, although it is home to the temple and village of Zwane, a village built near an ancient Kinku temple that was abandoned long ago until it became used once more after the apparent death of former Kinku master Kusho during the Noxus invasion. To the west of the mainland is Phalor.
Damn. Yeah, it's going so fast. During the Noxus invasion. Okay. I think I know what they're talking about. This man's speaking hella quick.
That's why it's 15 minutes.
Right.
All right. The location of the Dreaming
Whoa. Real fast now.
Pool. This is the pool that imprisoned the league champion Syndra, an extremely strong Ionian mage, until a pair of Vastaya freed her in an attempt to have her aid them against Noxus, a plan that didn't work out for them. Champion Syndra, an extremely strong Ionian mage, until a pair of Vastaya freed her in an attempt to have her aid them against Noxus, a plan that didn't work out for them. South of the mainland is the island of Varl, which most importantly hosted the Wuju village, the birthplace of the martial arts style of the same name. This village was destroyed in the Noxian invasion, and now the surviving master Yi carries on the Wuju tradition by teaching it to pupils. Then there's a string of islands on the east.
Is that that's the master that was so wild that they went back and blew up his hometown because they're like, yo, we can't deal with any more of you. And I feel like that was him. Was that him, you guys? If so, let me know. I'm trying to like mentally place all these things, and like it's just he's going so fast that by the time I figure it out, he's already talking about the next thing. Yeah.
Eastern side of the mainland of Ionia. And from north to south they are the northernmost island Raylin, which houses the Harana Monastery, then Ulin and Kalin. South of that is the larger island of Xion, heavily set with mountains and some pretty cool landmarks. Kashuri is a settlement on the southern part of Xion that's known for making weapons and armor, and in recent times they've begun making new weapons that utilize Ionia's inherent magic. Think like Hextech, but without the scorpion slaughtering or pollution creating hex crystals. Swirl Rocks, I feel like the picture does this one justice. The Temple of the Jagged Knife, an Order of Shadow controlled temple. And Tula, where Master Kusho, Shen, and Zed imprisoned the golden demon Kata Jin. The Xian Highlands, all around the mountains, house the Gajin River, where Jin was finally captured. At this point, I've mentioned Jin twice, so it's best to just tell you. In 2 minutes, you're going to hear all of...
Damn, I actually just got this graphic novel. I did a bid on eBay. Shit is crazy. Side note.
What, you spent like $2,000?
No. Actually, I got it for a fucking special deal. What you do, right, is you go on eBay. And then you wait until I set a little reminder on my phone, so I got to like the last day. The guy was selling it way cheap. Usually it's like $100+ for the graphic novel. But he was doing it. He was doing the bid, and I waited until like the last day, and I was like, "Oh, let me know 2 minutes before." And then I got the 2 minutes, and I just sat there until it went down to like 10 seconds, and then I fucking upped the bid by like $2. and then fucking it closed out. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I felt really bad for the guy, but I'm like, hey, bro, I've been trying to get this shit for like 4 months now. So sorry, guy. If you're out there and you're watching this video,
It was him.
hey, I need it more than you. All right. Let's jump back
Some
in.
crazy people in this world, man.
They're sick.
About Jin, and most of what you're going to hear probably happened in the Xian Highlands. I'm not even going to name all the places in this region because a lot of them are honestly just named because they're like somewhere Jin wiped out a village or something. But also it has the Olgathi Forest and the Sotka River and the Temple of Rashai. The Rashai were a sect of Kinku followers who supported pacifism no matter what, even in the wake of the war. And finally, the southernmost islands, Galrin and Sidaro, collectively referred to as Huojo for the tribe of humans that live on them. Sidaro is the southernmost and smallest of the two. Galrin is the larger of the two. It has a desert in the middle known as the Getu Sea, a forest at the tip, and an ancient coastal village of Pallas. Pallas is actually pretty important. It hosts the Temple of Pallas, which is where the darkened Varus, in the form of his bow, was imprisoned until Valmar and Kai, two Ionian hunters, accidentally freed him and ended up fused into a single body with Varus in a bizarre soul three-way.
That's a continent,
Okay,
too.
we made it. That's the continent of Ionia. All that's left is the rest of the video. We can get the government part of this one out of the way pretty quick, because there isn't really much we know about Ionia's form of government. They don't really seem to have an overarching body with massive influence. There are regional governments that manage their respective areas, villages that have their own councils, and they don't always get along with one another. Ionia's culture and lifestyle is all about balance and harmony, with nature, with the spiritual, with themselves. It's not surprising that this balance is central to the Ionian way of life. Magic permeates the air and everything in Ionia, with the barrier between the spirit realm and the mortal realms being especially thin. This deep connection to the natural world influences every aspect of Ionian life. Their clothing features the bright colors and natural patterns of the world around them, from both flora and fauna. Their architecture is natural too. There's an entire profession known as woodweavers that just convince trees and vegetation to grow in the shape of houses rather than cutting down the trees to make homes, since that would upset the nature spirits in the area and effectively curse the family living there. When you think of buildings and structures in Ionia, just think built into the world. The architecture moves up and down and in and out as the trees in the ground do. Ionia's cultural devotion to balance and spiritual understanding has naturally driven them towards neutrality and a peaceful existence for most of their time, even though they have a variety of martial arts across their various settlements and monasteries. Finally, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the Spirit Blossom Festival, a festival in Ionia where the spirit world opens itself up to mortals, the living can communicate with their dead loved ones, and spirits touch the mortal realm. Honestly, when you think of Ionians...
Hold on. So Spirit Blossom Realm, that's something we'll be jumping into in another video. Obviously, that's the season that they're dropping right now, so... yeah, I heard it's like just this big ass thing. Now that I see it's actually part of the world, that's kind of crazy. Because I thought it was just a skin line like release, you know what I mean?
Springtime,
just a springtime thing. Yeah. They're just doing because the seasons were changing. But yeah, I didn't know it was like a whole festival in the world, which is pretty crazy. I guess they communicate with your dead loved ones. Yeah, that's wild. Damn. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense where Yasuo and Yane, how they're going in the spirit world, coming out, all that good stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, makes more sense conceptually. But yeah, we're definitely going to be watching that video. So if you guys are looking, if you guys would like to see that, yeah, make some noise in the comments and let us know if that's something you guys actually want.
Make some noise.
Make some noise in the comments. Yeah, I'm gonna start using new lingo nowadays. All right, back to the video.
Color between the lines in the comments.
Druids and monks. That's your grounding reference. Just druids and monks all the way down.
Druids and monks.
Okay, you can't talk about Ionia without talking about the Vastaya, Runeterra's resident human-animal hybrid race.
Nice.
To clear something up right away, not every anthropomorphic character you see in Runeterra is a Vastayan. There are Minotaurs, the Shuriman Ascended God Warriors, Kyrians, and a bunch of other exceptions to the rule. But there are a lot of different Vastayan tribes, and they're spread out across the world, so there's a non-zero chance that if you see someone with animal features, they might be Vastayan. The Vastaya are descendants of the Vastaya Shirei, beings who drew immense power from the spirit realm in order to defeat a race of sky giants known as the Titans. Fun fact, you can still see the remnants of this war in Ionia, thousands and thousands of years later. The picture we're looking at now is actually on the island of Barl. Post-war, these Vastaya Shirei settled with mortals once more and intermingled with them, their hybrid offspring being less magical and disseminating across the land as Vastaya. In terms of appearance, Vastaya can trend towards being more animal-like or more human-like and anywhere in between. Most Vastaya have at least some ability to shapeshift, even if it's just small things like Rakan's cloak color or something like that. Vastayan tribes are divided into 3 categories: tribes of the sea, tribes of the sky, and the landwalker tribes. A Piltover explorer was kind enough to give us a tree of tribes for the Vastaya to show how some of the lineage shakes out, although there are likely countless more Vastayan tribes. There's the fishy type Mirai in the Tribes of the Sea, which includes the league champion Nami, the Vasani, Ari's tribe, who are fox-like in appearance and have been presumably wiped out, save for Ari herself. The goat-like Atrani, who live near Mount Targon. Soraka actually takes the appearance of an Atrani, even though she's technically a Celestial and not Vastayan herself. The Kilash, a tribe focused on the Thrill of the Hunt, who lives somewhere in Ixtal. This is Rengar's tribe. The Lawlin, a bird-like tribe that houses both Rakan and Zaya. The Shimon, Wukon's monkey-like tribe. And the Uvikot, a very old tribe of Vastaya that we actually only know 2 members of, one of them being Nico. There are other tribes in Vastayan as well. We see them in pictures and lore stories, in Legends of Runeterra art, and even in champions like Set. Vastayan of different tribes and appearance can in fact mate with one another, with their offspring's appearance being dependent on the magic the child grows up near, what connections it has to animal spirits, and the parent's appearance. Magic is key to Vastayan culture. They'll end up settling near where magic is strongest, like reservoirs or rivers of magic throughout the world, although they don't always have to be in proximity to magic. That's it. That's Vastaya 101. In the description, I'll specifically call out which league champions are Vastayan, so if you want to go learn more, you can. Maybe one day we'll go a little more in depth in a different video too, like maybe we do a Races of Runeterra video. Is that something people would like? That seems like it could be fun, maybe. Tell me if you want to see a Races of Runeterra video.
I like racist.
Factions.
Factions wise, we're basically just going to talk about monastic orders, because Ionia has a bunch. There's the Harana order, who are devoted to the idea of harmony and balance within your own self. They're a pacifistic order, who, when defense is required, specialize in redirecting and countering opponent's strikes. If you think of the league champion Udyr, this is actually where he was raised. The Shojin order, the designated protectors of peace and balance in Ionia, channeling the dragon spirit in order to master the art of inner healing and combat. The Wuju order, who we talked about a little bit in geography, they practice the ancient martial art Wuju style, and in the wake of the Noxian War, Master Yi is actually the only living master of the Wuju style, although he's currently passing it along to pupils like Wukong. There's also the Navori Brotherhood, the only non-monk order we're going to talk about. These people think that Ionia needs to unify and militarize in order to be stronger and prevent what happened with Noxus from ever happening again. It's a belief they hold so strongly that they'll attack anyone in Ionia who disagrees. Folks, I saved what I think are the 2 most important for last. The Kinku, an ancient clan of monks who preserve the sacred balance between the spirit and mortal realms, walking and stepping between the 2 to do so. They're currently led by Shen, but they have a key trifecta of warriors who help lead and guide the order. Kennen, the Heart of the Tempest, a Yordle monk who is the longest standing member of the Kinku and has always held the title. The Fist of Shadow, currently unoccupied but once filled by Akali. And Shen, the Eye of Twilight, the de facto leader who administers justice for the Kinku. And the final faction you should concern yourself with, the Order of Shadow, led by Zed, a group of warriors that formed after a defection from the Kinku and utilized powerful shadow magic to fight Ionia's enemies and protect the nation. Wow, Mike, that sounds like a cool story. Sure would be cool to know more about that, wouldn't it?
History!
There's many stories in Runeterra that set themselves in Ionia, but we're going to focus on 2 really key history pieces that put Ionia where it is today. The first is the Golden Demon, a story of how Xion was terrorized for years by a monster who would massacre villages and leave a trail of destruction in its wake. The Kinku eventually stepped in, with Grandmaster Kusho, his son Shen, and his prized pupil Yusan traveling to Xion to investigate the killings. They journeyed across the island, witnessing horrific displays of violence that shook them to their core. Shen lost his sense of humor, and Usan became bitter and vengeful. Eventually they tracked and caught the Golden Demon, who turned out to be a serial killer by the name of Kata Jin. And although Usan was ready to kill Jin, Kusho ordered that he be imprisoned instead. Neither young man agreed with Kusho's decision, but Shen accepted it. Usan, on the other hand, would harbor his feelings of spite for years to come. And the second, and probably inarguably the most impactful historical event we're going to talk about, is the Noxian invasion of Ionia. After scouting and infiltrating Ionia for a while, the then Grand General of Noxus, Borum Darkwill, began his invasion. One of the first targets that Noxus goes after is Phalor, the island to the southwest of mainland Ionia, which you may remember from earlier in the video was where Syndra was being held in the Dreaming Pool. Noxus ends up using the fortress at Phalor as a strategic base for basically the entire duration of the invasion. As the invasion rages on, Usan begins to grow impatient with Kusho and the Kinku's lack of action against the invaders. He splinters off and leaves the Kinku, but not before learning that there are powerful secrets regarding shadow magic within the temple. He rebrands himself as Zed and begins to gather followers that fight back against Noxus alongside the Navori Brotherhood. A series of battles wind up raging throughout the course of this war. The town of Pallas is at the site of the battle where 2 lovers, Valmar and Kai, fight back against the Noxians. Kai, nearly dead, is brought to the temple by Valmar, who throws Kai into the pit in the middle of the temple in an attempt to save him. This happens to be the pit holding the darkened Varus, and the 3 end up fusing together in a single body. Varus then repels the Noxian invasion of Pallas, and then pieces out of Ionia. Another battle occurs at the Lyceum of Navorai, where the Blade Dancer Aurelia and Ionian forces beat back Noxus. It's here that Aurelia and Swain fight, with Aurelia cutting off Swain's arm. In the aftermath, Aurelia becomes a
Aurelia cut off Swain's arm? I did not know that.
Damn.
I didn't really know how Swain's arm got cut off. I just knew it got cut off in the war. That's crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
Shout out, really.
As leader of the resistance, while Swain makes a pact with the Demon of Secrets, Rom, granting him a new demon arm before he returns to Noxus and is discharged from the military. Zed, requiring more power to fight off Noxian invaders, marches his followers on the Kinku Temple in search of the Tears of the Shadow, an artifact that contains the shadow magic power he's after. Zed runs into the temple to get the artifact, and Kusho chases after him, but only Zed emerges, artifact in hand. And although it looks like Zed killed his former master here, he actually helped Kusho fake his death, so that the latter could work in secret to assume control of the Navori Brotherhood. Zed, with the Secrets of the Shadow in tow, formally forms the Order of Shadow, and Shen leads the battered Kinku away to rebuild and reform the Order. Both orders are still at odds with one another, but they do have like a tentative truce peace in the wake of the Noxian invasion. Noxian and Ionian forces would continue to clash for a while until eventually Swain
this is the
forms
breeze.
his coup in Noxus, takes control of the Noxian Empire, and then pulls the forces back.
Fuck, man.
Swain forms his coup in Noxus, takes control of the Noxian
I love this
Empire, and
video.
then pulls the forces back out of Ionia. Even though the Noxian invasion is technically over, Noxus does still control some territory on the southern part of Ionia. We also know that at some point in the relatively near future, Noxus does try and invade Ionia again.
That was
The
a good
details
music
are a
video.
little sketchy on timing and whether that's happening right
Hey,
now
that's-
or in the future a little bit, so I wouldn't worry too much about that for the purposes of this
It's
video.
your favorite one.
And that's where we're going to wrap this video. With that, you should have a pretty good foundational knowledge of Ionia. You should be able to understand anything you read or watch that takes place there. If you're interested in personally reading more, check out the Universe page. It's linked below. There's comics and a ton of stories about Ionia. And be sure to comment and tell me what regions or concepts you want to see touched on next. Okay, bye.
That's cool.
All right, good job, bro. You know,
Shout out to
you
you,
did a
man.
little different, little stuff, bro. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you, brother. That was good information.
Quick, just please. Did you get that? Just please. Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I think I was more laughing at your natural self. You know?
Oh.
We was clapping hella along. My nigga said, "Just blaze." Just one time.
Yeah. Black man. All right. Well, that's all I got. I mean, that was cool. That was informative. I definitely learned a lot very quick. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about as far as like reaction. I feel like there was no time to like digest. Kind of just had to like lock out. I was trying to like pause it and at least like break it up a little bit. Felt like it was just, yeah, I don't know.
Consistent information dumping. just
Yeah,
about.
yeah. How do you guys feel about us reacting to that video compared to Necrit style? I'm always trying to like, do my little science thing and figure out the right formula to make it as entertaining for you guys as possible. I don't know if sometimes people like more talking, more input. Sometimes people like to just relive the moment with someone else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if you guys want to post your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comments, that would really help us for like future videos, especially when we do like lore dive and things. I know we're gonna do the Spirit Blossom, not this weekend, probably next weekend, and then 5 remaining Darken. We'll jump into that whole video. You guys got any?
I did want to make a mention about like the way his style of doing it. I guess he kind of like highlights certain bullet points for me personally, for like me to go back and like actually do like small like research on what he was saying. So I enjoyed it a little bit, but I can see how like it's a little bit too fast maybe for some
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
it's cool.
Because I feel like with us taking notes, it's one of those things where sometimes if you want to take notes, you have to look down to write, and when, in the process of looking down, you miss like 4 or 5 images. You know what I mean? So then it's just like, okay, it almost feels like you're not paying attention when really, people can multitask and write and listen. But it's different when you hear it and then you also get the visual. So like that one, I really didn't take too many notes because it's just, yeah, when things are going a lot faster like that, I'm kind of just like, okay, I have to make a decision where to focus. I'll just focus completely here and do like notes later. And I like how we can take notes during, certain videos like Necrit videos and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna think a little bit more on it. All right, y'all. Well, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys for coming.
And until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Oh
Yes.
God.
Yeah, and if you guys want to join our YouTube memberships, we have that. You can get videos ahead of time. We also have Patreon. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. We just hit 9,500, so we're right within that little margin. And we'll be doing some little special things, you know what I mean? And we'll keep it a secret until it comes up, but we will be dropping a vlog. I'll let you know that. So, yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of stuff, man. A big party, you feel me? A block party, you invited, nah, you know.
Okay, I don't know. Hey, I'm not condoning that. You know, I'm not signing on for that. Until next time, y'all. Much love. Peace.